Good afternoon. I greet you this afternoon, as always, with the greetings of respect. Thank you for joining me and us in this mindful community in this day of opportunities, possibilities, and miracles on this time of 1222. Segment 18. Thank you for joining in at this special time that we have. Last week when we were together, what we did, we talked about for whom the bell tolls, right? We talked about our connection to other people. Each man's death diminishes me because I'm a part of mankind. Remember that? And it happens that today being Memorial Day, a lot of people are recognizing that connection to other people. So I'm wondering, how did you do since the last time we were together? That feeling of connection to others. Did you share that message with anybody? Did you talk to anybody else about being connected? I know some of you did share some comments with me, and I appreciate that. And I know through your conversations you have talked with others about it. So that's outstanding to be able to do that. So as always, we begin with our moments of relaxing and breathing and quiet time for us just to recenter ourselves. So what I'd like to do is ask you to reflect during this moment of relaxing and breathing on the sacrifices that were made on your behalf. So today, Memorial Day is designed to recognize the service members who sacrificed their life for us. So many are barbecuing and doing whatever they do in terms of making that memory. But tomorrow, what will we do to demonstrate that we appreciate those who made sacrifices for us? So I would like to not take away from any of the service members, make sure we remember those who sacrificed their life, but think also in a moment about the other people that have sacrificed for you to be where you are, whether it was a parent, a friend, a teacher, a mentor, a neighbor, somebody who made some sacrifice of time, of resources, of energy, of something, money, whatever, that they sacrificed just so you could have something that you have. And maybe after you reflect on that, take a moment and say, thank you. Maybe send them a card or hello, or I appreciate that. You just don't know how powerful that might be to let somebody else know that you appreciate the sacrifice that they made at some point for you. They may not even know that you value that. So if you have a moment, think about adding that into your memorial of things that you're doing, possibly today and the rest of the week. Next week, let me know how it goes, how that went when you had that conversation. So that brings us to our mindful moment content. And this one, like the rest, I want to read it verbatim because I don't want to miss any parts of this message. Now, the person's name who originally did it, okay, I hope I get it right. It's Rama Mathukrishnan. Now, I hope I haven't crucified his name, but I think that's the way it's pronounced. Here's what I found interesting about this piece that I'm going to read to you. The content never changed, but it had several titles. There was a title of Do Not Judge. Can You Honestly Judge? Don't Find Fault. A prayer, a meditation. It's had a bunch of different names, but the content has been the same. So I'm going to read it to you. We're going to have a conversation about it. And thank all of you for joining in. Please forgive that I don't always acknowledge you as you're coming in, but I appreciate you being here at 12:22 or whenever you find it convenient for you to join in. I appreciate it. It's a beautiful thing. Warms my heart. So let me read this to you. Don't find fault with the man that stumbles or limps along the road unless you've worn his shoes or struggled beneath his load. Perhaps there are tacks in his shoes that hurt though hidden from view. Or maybe if his load was on your back, it might cause you to stumble too. Don't sneer at the man that has fallen unless you felt the blow that caused his fall, or felt the shame that only the fallen know. Though you may be strong, if the same blow was to deliver to you at the same time in the same way, it might cause you to fall too. So before you cast the first stone, make doubly sure that you have no sins of your own. For you know perhaps if the tempter's voice should whisper as softly to you as it did to him when he went astray, it might cause you to stumble too. So don't find fault. Same thing might happen to you. So I think that's a good piece. So as with all of the material that I share, we could spend hours having a dialogue about this. Honestly, we could. This one is no different. I'm going to try my best to condense it as much as I can. Let me begin by clarifying. We all pass judgment. We all pass judgment or make determinations about who we spend time with. Whether someone has the quality, the character that agrees with ours, that we want to spend the rest of our life with, or that we don't want to spend time with. We make judgments about what our association needs to be. So that's fair. This is posing a different consideration. It's those who find fault in just someone else as we see them going by, passing through our life. Have we become that person who just judges and finds something wrong with something that somebody else is doing? Who are we becoming by doing that? What kind of person are we if we start to just look at someone because of the way they appear or their political view or some choices that they've made, and now we decide, oh, you know what, I don't like them. It's one thing to judge. It's another thing to not honestly judge without having all the information. Can you imagine going in the courtroom and you get sentenced without the judge even hearing your side of the story? What about those who make prejudgments based on a superficial assessment? Not even an assessment, just a glance at somebody. They make a prejudgment about who that person is. Here's the big thing. The judgment tends to not stand by itself. They judge, therefore they punish. So there's some people who punish others because they have this judgment that they've made against them. How does that punishment look? Sometimes that punishment looks like ill treatment. Sometimes that punishment is speaking disparagingly about them. Sometimes that punishment is smiling in their face while waiting for something to go wrong and then passing it on to somebody else. Because those who tend to find fault in others look for followers that can follow that belief and that support. So they usually come to others and see if they can get somebody to join in finding fault against somebody else. So you might say, well, that doesn't bother me. I brush that off. I don't let people, disturb me if they find fault in me, and that's not who I am. But how do you feel? Some of you know I work with many healthcare professionals, and I work with many in the field of protection, military and police departments and such. How do you feel, or would you feel, if you needed some sort of protection? There was an incident that happened, and the people who were responsible for protecting you prejudged you or your situation and determined that they would not give you service that you needed because they have prejudged you of being a certain way. Maybe you still say, that wouldn't bother me. I'll take care of myself. What about your daughter? What about your son? What about your mother, your father? What about somebody close to you ends up in the hospital needing critical care? And the person responsible for caring for them prejudges them because they're in a relationship they don't care for, or they're of a race that they just don't like, or of a religion, or maybe where they live, or their level of education, or their financial situation. They're just not comfortable with that. So they prejudge and don't give them the proper care. How then does it feel now? Oh, now it's important, isn't it? Now it matters about not wanting to be prejudged. If you don't know what it feels like, talk to somebody who has a loved one in the hospital or has had one in the hospital and started receiving poor customer service because other people felt they just didn't deserve it because they prejudged them. The last part of this has to do with those of us who are being judged. Did you know that no matter what you do, no matter how many positive messages you deliver and positive songs you sing and how well you present at whatever, how diligently you get up and go to work every day, do you know that there are some people who are going to find fault in what you're doing? Oh, look at her. She thinks she's doing this. I remember when she didn't do that. Or I remember when he didn't do that. How come he's not doing this? They pass judgment on either things you have done in the past or what you might do in the future. And they're just waiting to find fault. As a matter of fact, sometimes they may even call you up and ask, so how you doing? You tell them you're doing well, and pretty soon they don't have anything else to say because they're waiting to hear that something has gone wrong. You could tell them anything. You say, well, how you doing? Well, I was just walking on the moon, picked up a few rocks today. Okay, well, I just called to check on you. I'll talk to you later. That's a true story. Some people actually are not listening for things going well. They're waiting to find fault. In the minute that something goes just off tilt a little bit, then they can say, see, I told you, I knew something wasn't going to work out for him or something wasn't going to work out for her. Be careful trying to attach your wagon to people who are waiting to find fault in the things that you're doing. Because there's some out there, that's who they have become. The important piece is that we all have the power to choose whether that's who we become. We tend to become like the people we spend most of our time around. Be conscious if you're around people who constantly are finding fault in somebody else without honestly gathering all the information, because it's more comfortable just to blame, judge, and punish somebody without all the information than going through the steps and the work that it takes to get to find out why certain things really are happening if it's important to us. We've been confused. Society has convinced us that we're supposed to be judging, so we have all these programs on television where you are the judge, you decide, and we've transferred what we see on television to real life, and now we judge everybody we see. How powerful can your moments be if they're absorbed in looking for fault in somebody else, when maybe the real fault is in the mirror? Things that we are not accomplishing, things that we are not doing that we need to do. Can we look in the mirror? That being so, I encourage you to look for an opportunity to step up and speak out. When you see somebody, hear somebody, when someone tries to engage you as one of their followers of finding fault, step up and speak out and bring to their awareness what's happening. Pose some questions to them to see how knowledgeable they are about what they're finding fault in. See where the conversation goes after that. Pass this video on, pass this message on, and I've got love for you even if you pass it on in your own words. You don't want to pass the video on, pass it on in your own words so that somebody else is conscious, so that you're not in an environment where you are consumed by fault finders and ultimately becoming one yourself, because it's contagious. I encourage you to consider the possibility of what your life might be like if you looked at people from a different angle, from a different perspective. If you realize that it's okay for you to be human and that you're not going to be able to please everybody, and that some people are waiting for you to make a mistake. Not everybody. You have some cheerleaders in your life. You have some people that believe in you. And when somebody likes you, then no matter what you do, they'll make excuses for you. When they don't like you, no matter what you do, they're going to find fault in it somewhere, some way. Consider the possibility of being more selective about the circles that you listen to and that you spend time in. Lastly, expect and experience the miracles that's going to expand in your life as you become more conscious of your moments. You consider the matter of not passing negative judgment without being honest and fair in our assessments. Expect the miracles and the beauty, the power of the now that will expand in your life the more you do that. Thank you for sharing these messages. Thank you for sharing this time on this Memorial Day or whenever you find it convenient to take a listen. I appreciate that. And as always, I hope that you travel with respect, and that you travel well. Until next time, we'll join again. Respect.